Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance still coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to. We're going to continue kind of talking about retro wrestling tonight. I know there was, when we did this probably around a week or two ago, the review was pretty positive. A lot of folks really enjoyed it, got a big kick out of it. It's something different. And I know a lot of folks really enjoy the fact that, well, let's face facts. Retro wrestling is really, here in the United States, wrestling in the 1980s and in the 1990s was huge. Huge. A lot of folks really watched it close. Around the early 2000s, we started really seeing it go away. And, so I thought tonight would be a great way to kind of continue to talk about retro wrestling as it was through the folks like myself and some of you out there who've seen it for the first time. Um, I know there's going to be a lot of talk about the WWE, WCW, obviously, in which that was originally the NWA. Of course, the WWE at one time being you know uh, the WWF as it was back then. I know a lot of folks really got a kick out of talking about retro wrestling, and I know that we're probably going to be talking about that SummerSlam. Well, no, the WrestleMania match between Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter for the WWF title as it was back then. The Winged Eagle title, probably the prettiest of all the titles. What's going on, J Dog? Good to see you. We got retro wrestling we're going to talk about tonight. Um, and when you talk about, so far, a few people have poked in, but nobody said anything yet. So you're the first. So we're just kind of waiting the first 5 to 10 because usually it takes a few minutes for folks to get in here. There you go. I was going to say, tonight we're going to talk about retro wrestling again. This is the part two that we did. It was like a week or two ago, and it really, a lot of folks really liked it, and it was different. It was exciting. Um, we talked about some of our favorite matches, seeing certain people. We even talked about some of the more interesting stuff that a lot of folks have kind of forgotten to history when it comes to wrestling. Yeah, I knew the Undertaker retired. See, I remember when the Undertaker originally came in. I remember seeing his first one of his very first WrestleMania matches before the streak that everyone talked about. Uh, so I knew about the Undertaker, and of course, played as Kane. A lot of people tend to forget one of the characters he also played. He played Jerry Lawler's dentist, Sir Sir Isaac Yankem. A lot of people forget that he played that character before he played the part of Kane, um, which I thought was an interesting. I thought that was always an interesting twist. And I remember at one point in time they were a tag team. The Undertaker and Kane were both a tag team. They were called like the Brothers of Destruction or something like that. Which most people even forget that the Undertaker at one time before he was the Undertaker, which I forget his name now. It eludes me. At one point in time, um, he was, if I remember correctly, he was in a tag team called the Twin Towers, and it was it was they were okay. They were okay. I think they were in the NWA if I remember correctly. I can't remember. It's been a long time. That's been a minute. That's been a minute. So, if y'all find that interesting, again, we're talking retro wrestling tonight. So for those of you who like wrestling, this is definitely your stream. Which I got to make sure. Where is he hiding, real quick? I haven't talked to him since yesterday. So there we go. Hey, Shadow Gamer, welcome to the live stream. Well, Shadow Gaming, how you, sometimes how you guys put your names in there is really unusual. Yeah, it's been a minute. Hey, what's going on, Mike G? We're talking retro wrestling tonight. We did this about a week or two ago, and everyone really enjoyed it. It was something different. And see, I grew up as a wrestling fan in the 1980s. I'm doing all right, Mike G, about as well as you can expect right now. Uh, we'll probably get to we'll probably get to all the other updates and everything. There's really no need to update what we already know. We don't know much right now. So that's kind of it. But kind of give you guys, yeah, yeah. Oh, you got yourself a sweetheart. That's wonderful, Shadow. It's fantastic. My wife ran off after doing a bunch of, she's head over heels into drugs and everything else. We got a whole playlist on it. I definitely suggest you getting caught up. But yeah, yeah, drugs and alcohol got a hold of her. Mental illness is real, and problems with drugs and alcohol, that is a mental illness. It is a mental illness. So it is what it is. But look, I've got a funny feeling. I got to talk to a friend of mine. I think we're going to do a part two, a podcast where we talk a little bit about that, a little bit more. Um, you know, so we're probably going to continue on with that. But anyhow, so that kind of narrows that down. So again, back to retro wrestling. Let's get back to retro wrestling. Uh, guys, tell me your favorite wrestlers. Your favorite retro wrestlers. I'm not talking modern age because let's face facts. Modern. Evidently, you also got to stay away from Walmart too. The night shift. But anyhow, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about retro wrestling tonight. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in the week. It just kind of depends on what's going on. Zelda, you coming in? No, you're out there looking. Okay, looking around, doing your thing. But anyhow, as we continue to talk about retro wrestling, um, name off some of your favorite wrestlers, from the classic days. And it can be anyone you want. Obviously, someone mentioned The Undertaker. The Undertaker. I actually remember, I think it was I forget what pay per view it was when he faced Superfly Jimmy Snuka. I know that was one of his matches. A lot of people talk about that streak and they go on and on about it, but in reality, it wasn't. Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you, Shadow. Just lost a couple of my family members. Yeah. I know a lot of folks. When we talk about retro wrestling, I mean, I will tell you that, like, um, the first, a lot of folks talk about Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior, the Ultimate Challenge. I think that was what WrestleMania 7, wasn't it? A lot of folks still talk about that match, and of course, Hogan. Uh, there's a lot of debate, and even Hogan has changed his story a little bit over the years. Um, you know, he always talks about how the Ultimate Warrior, after 5 minutes in the match was like, let's go home. And that was a term they used in the ring. I don't know if they still use it or not. Go for the finish. Go for the finish. That story he's kept pretty well the same. That there was just so many people there, and it made him very nervous. He's like, no, we're gonna put on a good show. We're gonna put on a good match. Okay, you don't get off that easy. You know, let's give them a match. Okay, and because this guy's got to communicate in the ring. Uh, I know before Princess Faye had her whole thing, I oftentimes explained to her, I said, you got to understand wrestling. Yes, it's very athletic. Yes, they're beating on each other, but it's a performance art, making it look like they're actually hurting one another in the ring. But the truth of it is that yeah, it does sometimes happen. But you have to remember it's a performance art. And she's like, oh, well, that kind of changed her perspective. She's like, I still don't like it, but it does give me a better respect for it because she understands the performance art of it all. Now, um, being that it's always been a performance art, there was that whole, where they were creating storylines and everything. And of course, we all know about the death of kayfabe. Honestly, social media makes that really, really just makes it worse, in my opinion. It just kills kayfabe like you wouldn't believe. Just one of those things. So, um, just one of those things. So if you're sticking around, if you're still here, be sure to smash the like button, share it out to everyone you know, and let's keep talking retro wrestling. Um, oh, I understand, Shadow. You go right on ahead, and we will catch you later. Okay? You you go be go do the romance thing. Go talk to your woman. Burned myself at work today, and it's blister hurt. So, yes, I do. I know all about it. Okay, folks. So, we've talked a little bit. You know, last week we talked about the WrestleMania match with Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan for the WWF World Title. And when I'm talking about the world title as it was back then, we're talking the old school Winged Eagle, the one that Hogan carried, the Ultimate Warrior carried. I know who else carried it. Gosh, I know it was even carried by Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, um, Scott Hall, as Diesel carried it. Yokozuna, Lex Luger, I think, may have carried it. Um, Bret the Hitman Hart carried it. Bob Backlund. Um, you know, a lot of great wrestlers carried that you know that title, the Winged Eagle, and of course we all know about the WCW Big Gold World Title, gorgeous looking belt. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, those of you who are still here. Y'all agree that the old Intercontinental title from the WWF, the one that Bret Hart carried, Roddy Rod Piper, Macho Man Randy Savage, guys like that. That one that they carried for years. I don't think that title really changed its look all that much. Um, are y'all with me that that was a gorgeous looking title? I think even Shawn Michaels carried it at one point. Who's with me on this? Man, the chat's dead. Wow. I know I said I was going to do this, but chat's dead, and mm, not sure what to say about this. Um, we'll soldier on a little bit longer. If I don't see the chat move, we won't do this again. Um, you know. All right. Again, the question is out. The Intercontinental title from the old days. Who's with me that, a lot of, I don't know yet. Like I said, what's going on, Bad? It's dead chat tonight. Said that I was going to talk about retro wrestling tonight, and it's dead. And it's like everyone's like, yeah, you should do it again, and there's no one around. And it's like, well, I know we were supposed to talk about tonight. We were going to talk about um, the match between Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan, and I keep thinking it was like WrestleMania, something like WrestleMania 8, 9, something like that. Hey, what's going on, Ruben? Good to see you. Talking a little old school wrestling tonight. Chat's been kind of dead tonight. A few folks dropped by, but that was about it. Ah, fair enough. It was at WrestleMania 7? I couldn't remember because I kept thinking that Hogan versus Warrior was like WrestleMania 7. I'm talking about the one with Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan, and it was called The Match Made in Hell or something. No, that was the SummerSlam following. That was a pay per view following it. But Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter for the world title when he was playing when Sergeant Slaughter was playing the part of the Iraqi sympathizer during the Gulf War. Bret the Hitman Hart. A lot of people tend to forget where he got his start. He started in Stampede Wrestling, which was a Canadian promotion. His father owned that Canadian promotion. Okay. Now, being that it was a Canadian promotion, eventually the WWF, as it was known back then, bought them out during the 80s when Vince McMahon Jr., who we all just called Mr. McMahon, started buying up all these companies. Um, okay, so he beat him before. I knew that much. Last week we started talking a little bit about that and said that we were definitely going to talk more about it when we did this segment again. I went back and did a little bit of homework. Sergeant Slaughter was actually getting serious death threats to him and his family. And yeah, I've been taking care of myself. Been taking care of myself, bad. I ate about a half an hour before the stream. Okay. But a lot of people forget that Sergeant Slaughter actually had to relocate his family for a little while. Um, some people even forget that there was even a time that Sergeant Slaughter was not with the WWF. Yeah, he got death threats, and he talked about having to relocate his family because it was during the Persian Gulf War when we went to the first time around, storming Norman Schwarzkopf and all that. Which there's a whole big thing that we should actually talk about in your face that really dives into why we were there because it's more than just he invaded Kuwait. There was a reason for it, but and that those documents finally have come to public light in the last 5 to 10 years. Why that was, but at the time, it was a big deal with patriotism at that time. Um, and what it boiled down to with the patriotism, yes. Um, See, I was in middle school when that was going on. I'm sure, bad. But when you start talking the old school wrestling like that, kayfabe was still pretty real back then. So the storylines seemed pretty realistic. Give you an idea. They always talk about how the Macho Man Randy Savage played the part of like the jealous boyfriend over Miss Elizabeth. Okay, so you're a little bit younger than me, so you remember all that. But they taught I know I forget who Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard. Yes, Roddy Rod Piper was a wrestler. He was also at one time in Stampede Wrestling with um, the same promotion that Bret the Hitman Hart's dad, Stu Hart, owned. So it was really, really good, um, really good storyline. It was really interesting. Piper was really good. I know he was a one-time Intercontinental Champion in the WWF. Um, and of course, we all know he played in the movie. He played in the movie. It Comes or something like that. It was an alien movie, basically. Good movie. Good movie. Yep. Maple Leaf and Stampede Red. Most people also forget. Was he in Saints Row 4? Okay. I did not know that. I didn't know that. Um, Going back in my wrestling history, um, let's see. If you ever get a chance, one, in my opinion, yep, Hulk Hogan, Suburban Command. He was in a lot of movies. Hogan was in a lot of movies, and a lot of people tend to forget about his TV show Thunder in Paradise. Hogan really did get around when it came to you know we're talking movies and stuff. And this, of course, long before like guys like John Cena, were doing some movies and stuff like that. And of course, Triple H has been in a few movies. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson had been in some movies. Yep. Three Ninjas. Yep. Suburban Commando. Yep. Had The Undertaker as well. Yes. Hang on a second. We'll get a little villain light going. There we go. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of people did. I forget who else played alongside The Undertaker. I think it might have been his tag team partner from when he was before he was The Undertaker from the Twin Towers. And I think, I don't remember. But now we're getting into famous tag teams that have been forgotten to time. If you guys ever want to see a really dumb tag team, go back to WCW's early days before the 1990s when Jim Herd was was the chairman of WCW, and look up the tag team called the Ding Dongs. I'm not kidding you. There was actually a tag team called the Ding Dongs. Had these red costumes, and in the middle of their chest was a freaking bell. Not a joke. But that was an actual tag team in WCW. But if you want to talk about obscure, forgotten tag teams that were really cool, that were really good, uh, everyone knows Stone Cold Steve Austin, but there was a time in WCW who was called Stunning Steve Austin, and his tag team partner was Flying Brian Pillman. And Flying Brian Pillman and Stunning Steve Austin made up the tag team called the Hollywood Blondes. Not a joke. Not a joke. And they were good. They were really good. I think Austin has said more than once he loved working with Brian Pillman. Okay, I understand. Oh yeah, I love talking old wrestling. But yeah, that uh, I actually remember a lot. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about, I remember vividly because okay, give you guys an idea. In the 1980s, when the WWF was really on the rise, there was a couple there was a obviously the NWA, which eventually became WCW World Championship Wrestling. But there was another promotion that a lot of people forget about, and that was AWA. And Hogan was in there. That was run by Vern Gagne. Not yet, Bad Bat. Uh, we're we'll get there. We'll get there. Eddie Guerrero, um, Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, um, and, uh, Lucian Thunder Liger, a bunch of the guys that came in from WCW that carried a lot of the luchador traditions. We talked about this last week, and see, I on one side of my family, I come from an old German family, but you go to the other side of my family, and we come from I come I'm Native American with a little bit of Latino thrown in, which is not uncommon. Actually, that's very commonplace. Which even when you get into the Latino community, you know that that there's going to be Aztec and Mayan thrown in there, so you still got a lot of Native American. Okay, and we take wrestling very seriously, especially our luchadors. And if you have never seen, now I've got a funny feeling, Ruben, you've seen what I'm talking about, so you'll get it. If you've ever seen true luchador wrestling directly from Mexico, it's very fast paced. It's really exciting to watch. Okay, so okay. It's very fast paced. So what we get here in the states as far as luchador wrestling, which now you're starting to hear the accent come out. When you start talking luchador wrestling, um, it's pretty watered down here in the states compared to what we're used to. Okay, compared to those of us who have seen. Oh, it's absolutely amazing. And we actually talked about the movie that had Jack Black in it last week, Nacho Libre, and that actually, even though it's a Nickelodeon movie and all that, that does have real basis about a real luchador wrestler directly out of Mexico, Catholic priest who went into wrestling. Right, right. Actually, the United States is about the only country. Oh, really? I very little of both German and Spanish myself, but primarily I speak two languages, English and bad English. um, but the movie Nacho Libre does have some basis in real life. There was a Catholic priest in Mexico that to make sure that mm, you get it. But on both, but that the movie Nacho Libre with Jack Black, um, actually that actually has some truth in it. There was a particular Catholic priest who was running an orphanage, and to make sure that the orphanage had enough money, he went into luchador wrestling, and yep, and to actually pay for the orphanage. And the even though Nickelodeon made that movie and they kind of the best way I know how to put it, they make kind of made fun of the real life story. So a lot of us who really know about luchador, know a little bit about luchador wrestling, we actually get really upset when that comes up. Because I mean, even though I'm not Catholic, I mean, this is a Catholic priest trying to take care of the orphans, and the fact that the fact that that this is a real life real life story of a Catholic priest. As a matter of fact, many wrestlers would many luchador wrestlers, when they climb in the ring with him, will actually kiss the ring on his hand, thanking him for the opportunity to wrestle him, because all the proceeds that he gets, a little bit of both in this case, a little bit of both, Bad Bat. But what I'm referring to, Zelda, you make me nervous every time you get up there. But what I'm referring to is, I mean, the fact that, that there's, this is a Catholic priest trying to pay for, so when the story comes up of the movie Nacho Libre, hey, what's going on, Simon? Talking a little retro wrestling here. It is because, again, luchador wrestling, the true luchador wrestling, because again, hang on, I will have to call her back. um, doing good. No word yet. No word yet. But we're talking, luchador wrestling at its finest. If you get it, if you watch. Hey, been run by, yeah. Okay. In If you want to talk about old school wrestling games, probably the best one I have ever played was WWF Raw for the Sega Genesis or Sega Master System, whichever you prefer. So, if you find that interesting. But it's kind of a quiet stream tonight, so I might just go ahead and shut down a little early because I got an important phone call to obviously take. So I figure I'd go ahead and talk a little bit about retro wrestling. We might try to do it again a little bit later in the week. Oh man, tell me about it. What my all-time favorite Intercontinental title match was against Roddy Rod Piper and Bret the Hitman Hart. If you've never watched that match, go back and look at it. I promise you, it'll be one of the greatest matches you ever seen. They told an amazing story in that ring, and I loved it. So, all right, folks, let's go ahead and stop here for right now. Be sure to smash the like button if you would, please, and we'll have to try this again. Maybe we might shoot for Friday or something like that. You on? Which one? There was two of them. There was two ladder matches. The first one, Razor Ramon won. The second one, Shawn Michaels won. Both were good. Both were amazing. So if you've never seen them, check them out. Check them both out. Which the first one they screwed. They realized they did something wrong. They only had the one ladder, and when they only had the one ladder, they realized they're like, wait a minute, what happens if this ladder breaks? Oh, okay, yeah, that was a good one. Good one. Take your pick. Both were amazing. They did a great job. But anyhow, I don't know how many. Yeah, right. But anyhow, all right, folks. It's been real. It's been. We'll have to try this again. Obviously, a lot of folks just weren't able to make it tonight. Kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. So that does bring us to a good stopping point for the evening. So spin the ring. That's funny. I like that. That. All right, folks. So as always, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is. Just do something with yourselves. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.